Today we're talking about, are you leaving too many good years on the table? Are your parents, or your grandparents, anyone that you love that's aging, are they leaving good years on the table? That's what we are going to discuss today, guys. So when we think about living a long life, we want to live long, but we want to be healthy, right? You want to have good mental health, physical well-being, emotionally fit, all these things. Is it possible? And is it possible to extend that time even more for each and every one of us in the future? Is that possible for us to do? If you look at statistics today in the United States, the average person lives to be around 79. That's considered a long life. I don't know. The older I get, the younger that sounds. Do you know what I'm saying? Not too long ago, I can't remember exactly when. I have some notes here, so maybe I'll check. Let's see if I see that real quickly. A century ago, the life expectancy was 54. What? Hey, 54, you're just getting started, in my view. Let me know in the comments if you're in your 50s. Do you feel like you're just getting started? I don't feel like that would be the end. That's crazy to me. So 79 is kind of the average now. The life expectancy has really grown over the course of the years. You have to look at society as a whole, how we live and how, medicine and those kinds of things have kept people alive longer. But again, we don't just want to be alive. We want to live. We want to live at our most optimal level for as long as possible. That would be the goal. And that's what we're talking about today. What are some things that your aging loved ones and you can do that would benefit your health, physical, mental, emotional, so that you could live longer and be happy and functional and do the things that you love to do for as long as you can? So let's get into that. There's a physician, Dr. Marie Bernard. I'm going to read this. She's from the NIH, National Institute on Aging. And she said, if you can make it to the age of 65, the likelihood is very high that you will live to be 85. And if you live to 85, it's very high you might live to the age of 92. So again, people are living longer. Not everyone, but there is a number of people. Now, my granny lived to be 97, and she lived at home. She had all her marbles in the bag. Physically, she was able to get around, just needed some help in and out of the shower. And that was her demise in the end. She fell and passed away about a week later. But up until that point, she was fine and dandy. Okay, she was doing great. My dad, he did pass away in his, I think it was 76. So late, I guess we call that late 70s, mid to late 70s. He broke a hip and passed away, unfortunately, 18 months later. So he made it to 65, but he didn't make it to the 85. And there are factors, of course, he fell, broke a hip. There's a whole nother story to that. We know that there's 300,000 fractures, hip fractures, every year in the United States for people over the age of 65, and that there's a very high number that do not overcome that hip fracture. And he was unfortunately one of those people. Now, my mom, on the flip side, she did live to be, I think, 87 when she passed away. And that was in late 2020. You can let your mind go there, yes. If we had not experienced that, I do believe she would have lived past 90. Because when March of 2020 happened, other than some dementia and a few physical things, she looked great and was doing great. So that played a role in her demise. But you see the similarities with what I'm saying. They lived longer, my mom and my granny. Daddy did not, due to some things that, just kind of happen. Things happen and we can't control everything. No matter how hard we try, we can't control everything, right? So it's important, we find people, whether that's your physician that you trust or your nurse practitioner, maybe it's someone at the gym that's been coaching you. What are some things that we can do to live longer and to live well? So let's get into that. And you're never too old. I don't want you to think, well, I'm already 80. Hey, It's never too late to start. In fact, they did another study that was funded by the same NIH, and they took 600 adults, and they were 70 to 89 years of age that were at risk for disability. And they randomly put them into two groups, one where they received moderate exercise and another one where they didn't really have any exercise per se, anything structured. And you guessed it, the group that did at least 150 minutes of exercise, which could be brisk walking, strength, and balance training and flexibility exercises, they lived longer, they were stronger, had more flexibility, and they were more upbeat. You know, when you exercise, it does release, endorphins, that feel good hormone that we've all experienced when we've worked out really hard and you feel really great. Maybe you didn't want to go do it, but once you went and you did it, you felt amazing when it was over. And you can be an older person and experience that as well. One of the physicians in the studies stated that exercise is especially important. This is a quote: for lengthening active life expectancy. And the key word there is active, which is life without disease and without physical and mental thinking disability. So let's talk about what are some things that you can do, your aging loved ones can do, to live longer, healthier, and happier at your most optimal level. And one is eating healthy, eating well. There was a study that just came out not too long ago that stated in the United States, the food that people eat, 60% of it, 60% of the food eaten by Americans is highly processed. We'll just let that sit there for a minute. That's a huge number. So if we can eat and encourage our aging loved ones to eat as healthy as possible, 80-20, even 70-30, try to eat whole foods, get that protein in, healthy fats, your vegetables, your fruits. If you can do that 70-80% of the time, you should be golden, right? You should be golden. Focus on eating those things as your main part of your food. So the fruits, the vegetables, especially the protein. So important. Get your healthy fats in. So the takeaway would be eat foods that are as close to being natural foods as possible. So minimal processed foods. Now you're looking at somebody who loves some donuts, okay? I'm just being honest here. I love sweets. I could do without anything else and have sweets. That's just facts. But let me tell you this. I changed my ways a few years ago after COVID, and I've lost 80 pounds in about 3.5 years. Still have about 30 to go. I can't even believe I gained that much weight, but I'm an emotional eater, and it's not carrots, okay? When I'm up in arms, I'm not eating fruit. I'm going to go for the donuts, okay? Or something I don't need to be eating all of the time. So I got back on track and, lost all that weight and feel great. And that helps with your mental status. I mean, I'm clear. The fog is gone. That veil is lifted, so to speak. And just that mobility, my joints don't ache like they did, just from all that processed food that I was eating and the sugar. So eat natural foods as much as we can, and that will help greatly. Stay physically active. I mean, these are things that we can do that are free. I mean, anyone can go outside and take a walk. We don't have to go to the gym or the yoga class. You can if you want to. That's amazing. But research over the course of the last year or two have put out some studies that I was listening to a physician. She's actually a doctor in the academic world, the college and university level. And all she has studied her whole career has been the brain. And she was talking about this study that came out and said if you walk, you or your aging loved one were to walk 3 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes, a brisk walk. Like I said, you don't have to be running, but just enough to get your heart rate up a little bit. decreases your risk of getting dementia by 30%. I think that's amazing. Get out and move. So eat well, move, find some kind of activity, do the resistance bands, lift weights if you can to help maintain that muscle mass that we lose. Once we hit our 30s, we begin to lose muscle mass. So we can still maintain our muscle mass as we age, and we can even gain muscle mass if we're consistent in what we're doing. Not at the rate that we would have when we were younger, but we certainly can maintain and we can gain. It's just going to be at smaller increments. So get that exercise routine, whatever that is for you. Maybe you like to swim, maybe you like to ride a bike, whatever it is. And staying engaged is super important. I talked about the documentary about the blue zones, and one of the things was community, having faith, being engaged. The younger people stayed engaged with the older people and vice versa. Everyone came together for meals or, walked together or did activities together. And that keeps that mental sharpness, keeps you clear and sharp. So keep those strong social communication, and connections, not communication, but connection with people. Super important. Family, whether it's family or friends or both. Church, family. It could be people you met at the YMCA that you go twice a week, that you're walking next to on a treadmill. Just those relationships. We need people. I enjoy my time alone. I'm very much if this is a thing, I'm an introverted extrovert. It's what I think I am. I love my alone time with Rudy. He's right behind me somewhere. But I love being around my people too. There's a balance. There's something about human connection. We all need that. It's good for our mental status. So set goals, try to stay positive in life, and try to avoid stress. Stress is a killer, man. I mean, it is like, if you could hear right now, Rudy is snoring behind me. He's relaxing. There's no stress in that dog's life. Unless I LEAVE, then he might have a little stress if he doesn't get to GO. You know what I'm saying? So you may be sitting there thinking, well, my family, their genes are terrible. You know nothing about us. You're right. I don't know anything about you. But let me share another piece of research with you from a Dr. Thomas Pearls. He's an aging expert and director of New England Centenarian Study at Boston University. And here's what he has to say. He says, you may think you need good genes to live longer, but genes are only part of the equation for most of us. Research shows that genes, and this is still him talking, research shows that genes account for less than 1/3 of your chances of surviving to the age of 85. The vast majority of variation in how old we live to be is due to our health behaviors. So the eating well, the movement of our bodies, the connection with people in our community, our family, our friends, our faith, what that looks like. And if our genes could get the most, in what he was saying in his research, our genes can help us, but with those other things, we could live to be 90 years old with no problem and be mentally clear, physically well, and emotionally stable, which is amazing to me. Again, my granny lived to be 97, sharp as a tack, able to get around in her house. She just slipped and fell in the shower. I mean, things happen. We can't stop everything from happening, but she, I would be safe to say my granny never ate anything really processed until the 80s. If very much, and it was sweets. Runs in the family, okay? But always ate whole foods. They had their garden. They raised their own chickens, so they had their own eggs. I mean, they ate whole foods. They didn't go around saying they were eating whole foods, but that's what they were doing. Even when I was a kid, we ate real food. And when we did go out to eat, which was once a week on the weekends with my godparents, we went to a steakhouse. So we had a steak, potato, and a salad. So it wasn't like we were going out and eating McDonald's. I never ate at a fast food place until I was a junior in high school, never stepped foot in one. First, I went on a school trip as a junior in high school, and they took us all to McDonald's. I didn't even get a burger. I got a fillet of fish. I remember that. But I was like, wow, okay. So I think that truly does impact. The research shows that people in my life that I see, myself, it does make a difference in your health. So if you are out there listening to this, let me know. When you look at your family and your close friends that you love that are aging, what do they do for activity? Are they socially involved? Do they go? Are they a member of a club, or do they golf? Do they go to church? Are they connected? Do you have meals together as families? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. We always ate breakfast and dinner together every day of my life that I was in my house with my parents. There was now lunch, just if it was the weekends, of course we ate together, but Monday through Friday, breakfast and dinner, we were together. I think today a lot of people were so rushed. Everything's on the go. So I'd love to hear from you. Do you eat a meal with your family? Does that still happen out there? And if so, do you love it? What do you love the most about that? But that's where you learn about each other. What happened in the day? How are you feeling? What's going on? What's happening tomorrow? You get that connection and that feeling of being loved and cared about and all those things. That's super important. So just remember, if we can have everyone to try and eat well, move their bodies, and be part of their community. It doesn't have to be a huge community. It can be 2 or 3 people. And stay connected and be purposeful in their lives. Do things that you love, that serve what you feel like you're here for, your purpose, whatever age you are. We all have a purpose. And if we can do those things that cost very little to nothing from a financial standpoint, we could access more years that are being left on the table by eating the wrong foods, not taking care of our bodies. And that's not shaming anyone. I'm telling you, I love to eat junk as well as the next one. But I know how my body feels and my brain when I eat well and when I move my body and when I stay connected and am living in my purpose, walking in my purpose. It totally makes a difference. So guys, thanks for listening. If you're looking for a community that's going to serve and support you, we'd love for you to join the Generational Guardians community. I'll drop the link. You could check us out. Remember, try and enjoy the journey, and we'll see you in the next one.